Hello, welcome to my bench. Today we have a Walkman. These were back in the 80s or 90s, well, I forget when these things came out, but they were ubiquitous. I mean, everybody had one, and people loved them. I mean, this particular one has a AM/FM radio and a tape player on it, and the design of them was phenomenal. I mean, how they smashed everything into here, well, we're going to see how they smashed everything into here. This particular one is a WM FX52. Uses two 1.5 volt batteries, AA's, and it's auto reverse. It has bass expansion, and it's got automatic volume level setting. Sort of. It works okay. To me, it just kind of makes it drop the volume down. It's not that much. I don't generally do much in the way of consumer electronics because, well, I've sort of gotten spoiled on commercial stuff for radio stations and things, and well made, and sometimes consumer stuff just drives me crazy. However, one of my YouTube viewers sent this in and asked me if I could fix it, so I said okay, well, we'll give it a shot. The thing's pretty easy to get apart. Basically, you just take out 4 little screws, and I mean little, right here on the sides. Trying not to throw them on the floor. And take off the battery cover. Where'd you go? Here it is. Battery cover. Now the battery cover holds onto here. It's supposed to have, we look at it, let's see, right here, this little thing is smashed down behind a piece of plastic right there, so you kind of have to lift that up and pull that off. So if you don't do that, you can't get this thing apart, and quite frankly, it's kind of a really chintzy way to do it, because as soon as you do that, this little springy piece loses a ton of its spring, and it won't lock the next time you put it in. So taking this off is not a forever deal. I mean, you can't do it very many times, or that's going to break, and then you're just out of luck. Now, I got to tell you, full disclosure, I have already fixed this, but I want to show you what I did to fix it. Well, it was an interesting problem. He sent it in, and it would kind of almost maybe sort of work on radio, but it had terrible sound. It was just garbled, just hashy, and just awful sound. And the tape player didn't work at all. And everything on this, of course, is pretty, I mean, it's like soft buttons. Let's see, we may as well go through it on here. It's got, this is your radio off, this is your radio on, and also your band switch. This is your tune up and down. This is your enter when you're entering favorite channels. This is your play, reverse and forward both. And this is your fast forward and your rewind over here. And it also double as setting presets for the when you set a preset for a channel, you use those buttons. And it's got this little slide thing here that when you slide it up, none of these buttons work, which is great, because if you got it stuck in your pocket or something, it would suddenly stop. So that's a nice thought. And a battery indicator and an LCD up here to tell you where you're at. So after you take out the 4 screws and disconnect this, make sure that that's open. You pull it off and carefully slide that out. That little metal, this little piece here that's the negative battery connector goes, no, positive battery connector goes between here and here. So it's, you got to make sure that you pull that out or you'll just rip it off, and then you will be in trouble. So when we get in here, what do we got? Well, not a heck of a lot on this side. Let's see if I can get down here a little bit more. Okay, so we got our little pad, you know, our touch pad with little individual. In these days, they didn't do the little zigzag as much as they do now. They just had two sides. The little pad comes down and it touches. This is permeated rubber, which has a resistance. I don't know what the resistance value of that stuff is. Let's find out. It's probably fairly high. Let's see. Let's go from one side to the other. It says, well, if you touch them together, about 6 to 800 ohms. So, you know, the permeated rubber here for 600 to 800 ohms across the little guys. The big guy, no, it's only going to touch, so let's make sure that I do this right. It's only going to touch across this way because that's the way the pads are set up. So about 1.5K. All right, so we got about a 1.5K. So these things will respond to pretty much anything. I mean, you could probably mash your finger down on there hard enough; it would make it work. Okay, here's the AM antenna. There's something you don't see in anything anymore. AM antennas. AM radio, what's that? Well, please keep listening to AM radio. I have one, and it would be nice. I mean, I run one, and it would be nice to have people actually listen to it for a change. Mine plays very old music from the 50s and 60s, some of the 40s, and I am... well, let's just put it this way. I know every word to every song they play. That's upsetting. Okay. There's two screws that hold on this top board here. And it comes kind of about halfway off, if you notice, like that. Alright, now we're missing something, and I'll show you in a minute. And it has a little connector here. Let's take a look at this board. This is the radio board and part of the amplifier. Show you in the schematic that I do have a schematic for this, that the what all's on here. This is the radio section down here, and it's all very small. Let's get in here a little farther. Well, can you do it, camera? Yeah, evidently you can. Ooh, I gotta change glasses. Alright. And I gotta put on my geek glasses here. Alright, so this is the radio section, and it's pretty basic. You notice almost everything here is service mount. There are a few through holes, coils here, and let's see what else. Well, this, I don't know what that is. I could look it up, but the radio section works on here. And this over here is all part of the controls for to run the LCD screen. So what have we got here? We've got a NEC D1724. If I can find the... No, there's not a date code on there. And here's a CXA1111N. That's the radio chip, I'm sure. 3335. Anyway, so basically everything, this is the radio and display, and it's connected across this one little ribbon cable. Fortunately, they did actually solder these guys down. Alright, so that's about all that's on there. The part on this that you got to worry about if you're going to fix one of these is this board. Now this one, it also has two screws, little ones, and it comes off like this. Now, here's another problem with it. This is the motor. The motor normally connects to right there, and I will later, but you got to make sure you take this off, or you'll break this easily. You'll bend those 4 or 5 times and it's over. And it's connected right to it, and it goes right there, so like that. So you can't get it up, and you have to. It's pain, but and it's soldered directly on through this strap over here. And here is the little culprit board. Well, this connector over here is for the heads, audio from the heads. This is the board where you have problems. Get back in here a little bit. If you look, you'll see there's a bunch of little service mount capacitors. These are all 22 microfarad at like 10 or, well, 16 volts. 22 is 16s. There's 2.2s and 4.7s and 3.3s over here. They're all like 16 volts. Over here next to the power input, you've got a 220 and a 10. One is at 16, the 220. Yeah, they're both at 16 volts. They all have to be changed. All of them. Just period. They're all bad. And there they are. When I got this guy right here was kind of attached here, and I can't even do it anymore, like that, and glued in place on the back of this connector here, instead of putting a real one in. I don't know why anybody would do that. This is 220 at 6.3. It came with 220 at 16. And this little guy here was attached to here and laying down. Unfortunately, when they did that, they also ripped the traces off the board. So I did a little rework. I could not get in and actually make the traces go back on there with some copper. It's just too small, and it wasn't going to work. But I just ran some wire wrap wire around to hook the traces back up again. So that works, and the audio is just horrible when you get if these things are not if you don't replace these. And originally I thought, well, the motor won't work either, probably the caps. Well, yeah, sort of, kind of. It's not. It's this right here. This is a capacitor. I don't know if I can get in close enough to that. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, there it is. 1 at 50 volts. Right there. That little cap stops it all from working, and I'll show you on the schematic where that cap is. Because what happens is it can't find where it's supposed to be by the switch that changes the motor direction and goes into rewind and fast forward, which is where'd it go? Oh, right there. Which is right. Come on, camera. You can do it. Which is right there. This little switch tells the machine whether it's in fast forward, rewind, play, or whatever. And the amount of actual contact space in this thing is phenomenally small. So it has to be dead accurate when it goes from, like that right there, I believe is play, and that right there is going to be fast forward, I think, and then rewind or whatever. I don't remember, but it's all controlled by this IC and that timing cap right there. It's amazing. Anyway, and it's kind of interesting if you look at this right here. The cap, this is the negative, that's the positive, and this end here is also soldered on. It's soldered onto this little trace, which I guess is ground, but it's interesting because there is a via right there. It goes along and chugs along, comes over here and goes down to here, and then it just sort of ends right there. It's just okay. But anyway, it's just a ground for the cap to hold it in a little bit better. But you can see that it's connected right there and right there. These are interesting little cap, and they're kind of hard to get a hold of. I mean, these are capacitors down here too. This one right here. So you know, but these are fairly normal. These are a little harder. But okay. Anyway, so once you replace all those caps and that cap, and then get it back together. Now, the fun part of this is, we'll make sure you get it back together correctly here, is getting this, there. No, that's wrong. Yeah. Alright. You get it back together over here, only everything is down. How did I get this so messed up? There we go. You gotta make sure when you get it back together that this switch that I was talking about, right down in there, actually lines up with this little slot here, which is gear driven through cams to move the switch back and forth to tell it where it's at as the motor goes around, turns all these things, and you know, through all the cams inside. It's a pretty complicated little system, and it's not it's not very forgiving. When you take it apart, it says right in the, like, okay, here, I show you right here. See, that is right, it's right inside there, okay? It says in the instructions when you do this, don't move that switch. When you take this thing apart, do not move the switch. Because if you move the switch, and put it back together, it won't be right. And if you turn these and get them out of order, then you gotta get it back to where it was before. This one also came in with a broken switch. This is the mega base, the little bitty switch thing up here on the top. It's broken. Alright, so now I'm going to tell you the whole truth. After I messed around with this long enough to actually get it working for a second, I realized that this motor, somebody had this apart several times, evidently because they changed those caps over there. And these little traces right there on this flex cable are connected to itsy bitsy teeny tiny little wires in here that go to this motor, and they gave up and the motor was no good. So basically what I did is I found another one, took the best pieces out of both of them and put it together, and I replaced this cap right here with one of these kinds, you know, 1 microfarad, not 22, but replaced it with one of these, and you can do it. There's enough space between these two pins on this little capacitor to replace it with a 1 microfarad surface mount electric lytic, and it doesn't stick up any higher than the rest of them. It's 50 volts, and now, where'd you go? Here it is. So I ended up with another one. We're going to call that one over there a teaching aid. That's what we're going to do. Anyway, so I took all the best parts from that one and this one and put them all together. This one, the door, works infinitely better. And it sticks. The case is in much better shape. Don't have the busted window. The head's in great shape. Now this one, the pinch rollers were kind of nasty. I had to clean those up some, but that's okay. You kind of expect that. I mean, if you've ever worked on this stuff for any length of time, you understand that. Pinch rollers are a problem and always have been. Alright, so now we got the batteries in. Let's see, I need, yeah, alright, this ain't gonna be stereo because it ain't stereo. And anyhow, plug this in here and turn this on. Oh, it's not plugged in. Of course it's, yeah, it is. Hello. Oh, there we go. Select band. Alright. And tune.
To take care of the animals and
I gotta get it, turn it the right way because it's just too much noise in here.
Nothing happen to them because they want to make sure that nothing bad happens to those animals that they become responsible.
We've never put Belle in our estate.
There we go.
Oh my gosh, and I'm single.
So,
I gotta get my kitty cat.
The radio works.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real.
Let's try and see if we can get an AM or an FM channel.
And now you fellas leave your girl with her friends, 'cause it's 11:30 and the club is jumping.
When I hear this song today,
No
I think,
idea.
wow,
Okay.
in a way it lays out.
Anyway, so that works, and then the radio off works. And you can see there's the dial. Alright, the radio off. So, let us try a tape. I don't have, well, I have some music tapes someplace, but basically this is the Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul by Douglas Adams. And we'll put it in there, find out which way we're going. Let's see, I want to go fast forward. Yep. So it's going to play in reverse when it plays. Play, reverse. Now these things will not pull a long tape. I mean, you can put a 90-minute tape in here and good luck. It just ain't going to work. It just won't pull it. We're turning. You know, you got to have a lot of leader on these things in case you
Hardly be a coincidence
There we go.
that no language on earth has ever produced the expression, as pretty as an airport. Airports are ugly. Some are very ugly.
I
Some
love
attain a
Douglas
degree of
Adams.
ugliness that can only be the result of a special effort.
And stop. And so we got, you hit the fast forward and it says fast forward. You hit rewind, it says rewind, and it works. So everything is working on here, but I'll tell you, it was fun trying to find it. It's just that little cap, 1 microfarad, and we're going to measure it. I found it. I kept it. It's right there. So let us measure this guy. Put this on. Alright, and it is 0.027 nanofarads. That can't be right. That's the leads. Let's try to hook it up to this thing here. I'm not a big fan of the capacitance tester in that meter. I mean, everything about that Vinci meter is pretty good, except that. Of course, it's a voltmeter. The kind of capacitor meters are LCs, just much better idea. Alright, smash that down on there. See if we can get a reading here. This is going to be interesting, because I can't. Trying to do this so you can see it too. Yeah, I know. Very difficult. It says no or damaged part, and that would not surprise me. Because it's not working. Okay, let's try this. Be very, very careful. As the bunny once said, be very, very careful. No, that was Elmer, I believe. No or damaged part. It has no value. In other words, it's probably open. I would be willing to bet. I don't know how these fail. Yeah, with my fingers on there, I can't even read it. So that's the problem with these guys. So there you go. Now you know. If you got one of these and you want it to work, that's how you fix it. Just be careful, because it's full of little bitty stuff, and the board is really touchy about getting too hot. You can. I took those capacitors and things off with a hot air gun, and I noticed that that board will bubble in a heartbeat. So be very, very careful if you're going to do this. Anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. It really, really helps. And hit that little bell so you know when I make a new video. Anyway, thanks for watching.